Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Chiefs Digest Tuesday Q&A. Hooray, hooray, it is Q&A day. Luttrell, you don't have to be skeptical of any answers that you're getting from us on April 1st because, well, Nick and I do like to pal around, and we do like to have some fun and maybe play some games. We're serious when it comes to our football. We're serious when it comes to the Chiefs. We're serious when it comes to this day. So I mean, I've been known for some April Fool's pranks in the past. I've had some pretty good ones I've pulled off before. So I'm not saying I'm not proud of them, but we will not lead you astray. There will not be any nonsense here tonight, I promise you. So anything you want to talk about, already see Brian wants to talk about Andy Hack. I'm sure those things will come up. Anything else wants to come up? I know the rule changes that the NFL is rolling out. We can talk about that if you want to. Talk about Rashee Rice and his recovery that Andy Reid talked with today down in Florida at the league meetings in Palm Beach. Anything on your agenda? Draft, obviously. We are 23 days away from the draft, so we're getting close and serious. Believe it or not, yes, my first mock draft, even though I have promised it before, it will be up here in the next few days. I'm going to have quite a few here in the next 23 days, break down a couple of different scenarios, maybe look at some different directions and things that the Chiefs might do. If you followed me before, you know that what I like to do with my mock drafts is to usually go through a few different scenarios. Experiment with just, one, looking at what types of players might be available at each spot, doing another where we look at trading scenarios, trading back, trading up, whatever the case may be, looking for future draft picks. I mean, I'm never going to do anything too wild and crazy. Everything I do, I want it to be realistic. But I like to go through some of the same scenarios that Brett Veach and his staff will be going through. They do these kind of things, these exercises where they will, hey, you're on the clock at this particular point in time. These players are gone. These players are available. Do you trade up? Do you trade back? What do you do? They go through it so that when they are on the clock, and this isn't just like first round scenarios. I mean, they'll be talking about it. They'll go through, if for a draft like this, even they're going to go through it in, say, the fifth round, where, remember, Chiefs don't have a pick in the fifth and the sixth round. They'll be going through scenarios and saying, wait a minute, what if a player that we've got a third round grade on is sitting there in the fifth round? What do we do? Do we try and, trade a future pick and one of those sevenths from this year to move back into this year's fifth round to get something done? I mean, those are the things that they'll work through, is to figure out what's the cost, what should we pay. They'll have talked to some of the teams that they might be interested. I mean, Ryan Tracy and I over Locked On Chiefs were talking earlier this evening about the fact that we usually talk about Brett Veach calling teams that are in front of him and discussing about what the cost might be to move up in the first round. But he's also talking to teams behind him in the second round, saying, hey, if player we don't want at 31 isn't there, if you want to move up, what are you willing to give up? What would you give us? What price are you willing to pay to get to 31? So they'll go through those scenarios. They'll go through a lot of different ones. And those are kind of some of the things I like to go through. I probably don't get as much into the fifth round and sixth round scenarios where the Chiefs might trade back in. If there's mostly because when you're going through some mock draft scenarios, there's usually nothing too crazy, like all of a sudden the third round player is available in the fifth. It can happen. I mean, if there's a player I really like, that's all of a sudden I'm going through the simulation and fifth round is there and there's a player that's really good out there. I mean, this is the 1 year where I might look at that and go through that scenario, because the Chiefs have a couple of rounds where they don't have any picks and might have to think about getting back in to this year's draft in the fifth and the sixth. So any questions you've got about anything going on, fire away. Nick and I will talk about it. And if you got a question that I think is appropriate for Nick to really answer, and you can't stick around until Nick joins us later, go ahead and fire away, and I'll bring it up when Nick gets in, and we'll talk about it. So starting off, going to go with Chris as the first question tonight. Have you thought about doing a day in the off-season life series involving someone from the front office, scout, coach, player, trainer, mascot, and how they are preparing for the upcoming season? I mean, honestly, yes, Chris, I have. I've pitched some stories in this vein before. Certainly some guys and people in the maybe front office that we don't hear as much from. I haven't gotten a lot of traction on getting those stories approved, unfortunately. That the Chiefs will allow them to talk to us, and but I do. I think it's pretty fascinating. I mean, we do get a little bit of a glimpse from some of these individuals. I mean, we get to talk to Brett, and he'll tell us a little bit what life is like for him and his staff. But mascot's a good one. I guess maybe I should be reaching out to KC Wolf and seeing if I can't get Dan Mears to maybe tell some good stories about that. But I would love to talk to some of the others you mentioned there. Would love to be able to talk to some of the scouts and trainers, other people in the front office. There's some great stories. They really are, and I'll leave a little bit of my laundry at the door. That I'm not complain too much about access or be a little whiny media person or anything, but I will say this. I asked Andy Reid a couple of years ago about, because he had made a mention about in a conversation we were having about just he wished that there were some stories that we talked more about, and I followed up with that, was like, okay, what are examples? What stories would you like to see? And one of the things he talked about was just seeing more stories about people who don't get as much credit behind the scenes, and I'm all for that. I've loved it. I'd just like to get some of the stories approved. So maybe it'll happen, Chris. And you give me an idea or a couple of different angles. So maybe we'll try that and see if we can't get into it. Brian, are we really going to have a 14th consecutive Andy Heck O-line this year? Seriously? I mean, I think you know the answer, Brian. I think unfortunately we know the answer at this point. So. But the Chiefs claim they're trying really hard. But what has changed? Still bargain table, free agents, project draftees, and Andy Heck stunted players. I mean, I'm not. I can't necessarily go with the bargain table free agents because you are keeping Trey Smith, one of the best players his position, right guard. You're keeping him for a lot of money. You just gave your own guy, and Creed Humphrey a lot of money. I mean, you're keeping good players, your own free agents. You're paying them a lot of money, so I can't necessarily complain about that. Let's see what happens. Hey, let's see what happens with this year's draft. Let's see what they get and what they come out with. We can talk about the players, and we'll see what happens and everything. And I get what you're saying. You got your butts beat in the Super Bowl, and it's happened a couple of times. Nobody gets fired. I mean, even though I know we've made the compelling point at times that there's some similarities against what happened against Tampa Bay and what happened against Philadelphia. I mean, it's hard to say that you got to have anybody accountable at this point. But I'll tell you what. I mean, this is the year. I mean, and Andy Reid at the Combine, I think, set the standard by saying, look, the standard in Kansas City is higher. There's got to have some people who are accountable for what happened in the Super Bowl. And I think you got to hold Andy Reid to that. There's going to be some accountability for that. If some things in 2025 aren't better. And once again, remember, we are grading on a heck of a curve because the Chiefs have been pretty good. But yeah, I mean, the Chiefs want to win Super Bowls. That's their goal. And if they don't win one, that's a disappointment for them. So, hey, could things change if they don't win a Super Bowl this year? I mean, depending on how it unfolds and the way it plays out, there could absolutely be more accountability than you would expect after this season. So let's see what happens. I'm not promising anything. I'm just saying that Andy Reid, I thought, laid down a little bit of a gauntlet at the Combine, and we'll see if he continues on that kind of frame of mind to say, hey, wait a minute, this is the standard, and if this team doesn't win a Super Bowl in 2025, and if there's reasons why that are within your control, then I do think that there's going to be some accountability. Will Nick take a pay cut to bring Tyreek Hill back? Well, let's ask Nick.
Hello, Matt Derrick. What is this background behind us? My goodness. Oh, my.
Well, I'm working on some things, Nick. I'm working on.
All right. That is a background. That is definitely a background.
It is a background, isn't it? I mean, I'm not sure it's staying. and based on your initial reaction, probably shouldn't stay. But
definitely a background.
But I tell you what, we can change that real quick. But in the meantime, how are you this evening, Nick?
I'm delightful, man. I just had a sport coffee a little bit ago, so I am amped up and ready to go.
Oh boy, everybody, we got sport coffee Nick Jacobs tonight, so you don't know what's going to happen.
Next level.
So if you push the right button, it sounds like we could get a Nick Jacobs rant.
Man, why are you always trying to have people aggravate me? It's like
I don't want people to aggravate you. We just everybody loves the rants.
Well, I'm sorry. Sometimes I just want to be a happy-go-lucky person. And you guys are like, nope, we want to hear angry and bitter.
Okay, everybody. If you could ask some questions of Nick tonight that makes him feel happy and joyful.
I'm already at that point right now. Like, you don't have to do it.
Okay, ask him some questions that will keep him happy and joyful.
I have the sports coffee, Matt. I'm good right now.
Well, would you take a pay cut to bring Tyreek Hill back?
Why am I having to take a pay cut for a guy that's making over $100 million?
I mean, it's really not in your ballpark.
Come on, Jesus. You're out here speaking ridiculousness. You're like, hey, do you want to take your salary that fails in comparison to Tyreek's, probably nearly $100 million at this point if I calculated everything up? Why am I taking the pay cut? Get out of here. Get out of here with that nonsense, man. You're not really taking food out of my fictitious family's mouth. Nonsense.
It wouldn't have any impact because you don't count towards salary cap, but
I would be under the top 51. Yes.
I think we're both on the same page. Chiefs don't need Tyreek. There's a lot of things they need. I'm not sure they need Tyreek.
Yeah,
that's the past.
Asking me to take a pay cut so a multi-millionaire can come back. Get out of here.
Neo Thomas, thoughts on trading back? Do you think the Chiefs will have too much competition? I mean, Nick, this is a really interesting topic to me because the Chiefs have been here before. They've been at the end of the first round. It's been a long time since they've successfully traded back. I mean, the last time they really traded back at any point where you would say, it was obviously the Chris Jones trade, when they traded back a few spots and still managed to get Chris Jones. But they've been at the end of the first round now a couple of times and haven't been able to trade back. They've been stuck a couple of times. I want to play out a scenario with you because I talked with Ryan Tracy over Locked On Chiefs earlier today, and I'm curious.
Sorry, Matt. This question says for Matt. That means I get to be free.
I am bringing you into it. So,
I'm sorry, I'm losing connection. Oh no.
I mean, is a quarterback pretty much the only thing that could be available late in the draft?
Sorry, what's that, Matt?
Wow. Wow.
This is why you don't want me on Sport Coffee.
Apparently, man, I thought Sport Coffee, Nick, was going to be, fun.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, maybe I am being fun. Okay.
You're being April Fool's fun, I think.
No, we don't. No. I don't recognize April Fools. I'm sorry.
I don't know if we really discussed it, but you do not seem like an April Fool's kind of guy.
Yeah. No, I deliberately stayed away from the old social media today, unless it was something truly legit.
I feel like you would, if you had to. I mean, you would prefer to also just like make sure you have a PTO day on April 1st.
No, I don't need one. I was off today.
Well, I know, but if you were scheduled to be at work, I feel like you'd like to be off just so you don't have to deal with the work shenanigans of potentially April Fool's Day.
No, in sports it's pretty clear cut. Sports, it's very clear cut. Let me pull up the schedule and see what I wrote down this week for what was going to be going on Tuesday, Matt. Well, it's going to take me a minute, so you just go ahead and you come up with that trade scenario you wanted me to answer.
Is there any position other than quarterback that you think a team would be willing to move back into the first round to get? Is that like a Jackson Dart is available at 31. Is that like the only scenario where the Chiefs could possibly find a partner to move back?
I think in terms of trade, I think it just comes down to who dropped that a team wasn't expecting. Because whoever has the top pick in the second round is the most coveted person overnight. And that's who every team has to go a little bit above and beyond to get to that 33rd spot. And that's the Cleveland Browns as of right now. So to get to that spot, teams can think overnight, they can analyze, they can evaluate. And then some teams overpay to get to 33. So for somebody like the Chiefs, you're needing somebody to fall. And if you've done some mock drafts, there's been times where Walter Nolan falls, a couple wide receivers fall, whether that's Luther Burden or the the Ohio State wide receiver. And then sometimes, Pierce from Tennessee, the defensive end, has fallen in the hypothetical mock draft simulators. So, and then you see in the hypothetical trade situations, teams want to trade up. But since I'm talking real world right now, I think the keys, like you said, is if there's a quarterback that a team might want that fifth-year option on just to keep costs down, or is there a player they had a first-round grade on that was they expected to go in the 18 range, and they're like, you know what? You don't want teams to be able to think about it overnight and to be able to analyze more tape on a player if they're going to drop there in that 30 to 32 range. So then a team has to be aggressive at that point, especially if they're high into the second round. And then you've got to strike that night. So then teams don't have the chance to analyze and do the thought process of, watching a bunch of tape overnight and being like, let's make the play for that because you didn't get that position, in the top 18 that you were thinking or in the top 20. And then I think that's kind of what you have to think of from a strategy perspective.
Yeah, one, we know it's counterintuitive against the Brett Veach strategy of moving back because he's traditionally been, at least in the first and second round, he's a move up kind of guy. He's a move up guy throughout the entire draft. But he can move back. It's curious to me because we've talked about the fact the Chiefs need more draft currency, not just this year, next year too. This year, you've got those holes in the 5th and 6th rounds of no draft picks that it's going to hurt. You're going to take a player in the 4th round and you're going to sit around for a couple hours and just watch, players going off the board. And if you've got somebody that you've got like a 3rd round grade on that's still there in the 5th round and you're Brett Veach, you're going to be wishing you had some draft capital because that's where there's a lot of depth in this draft. There's going to be some good players available in the 5th round.
For me personally, I think there's a lot of quality in the second round. It just kind of depends on position because, I think corners is going to be kind of coveted. I think it's going to be really coveted in the second round if you really want to get a high-end corner. And then I think by the time you get to that into third and a lot of 4th round, I think that's when, if you really want a corner, you need to get them by middle of 4th if that's what you're going to do. Running back seems like that's going to be the one that's going to be kind of more that 3rd to 5th round range like you're talking about. Receiver, I got a feeling by middle 4th, most of the guys that teams are going to covet are going to want to have them by that point. D-line, I think, is good through probably 4th, maybe into a little bit early 5th. And then from there, it's just kind of a guessing game on that front.
Yeah. Neo, I'll be honest. I think that the Chiefs, if they get the opportunity to move back and the player that they want is not there at 31, which more than likely, is not. A typical draft, Brett Veach will tell you, you're going to have 15 to 20 first-round grades. If you're at 31, there's a real good chance that there's not a player you get a first-round grade on available. If you can move back, you can. And, and Nick, I mentioned this earlier, we talked so much about how Brett Veach, he's like a lot of GMs, but I think he's really good at this. He's a networker. We've talked about the fact that, he always has spoken to the teams in front of him up into the 20s, low 20s, maybe around 20, sometimes maybe even into the teens about what would it cost to get your pick if the player we want is there. But he does the same thing with the people in the second round that are right behind him. He has those same conversations leading up to the draft. So he's not waiting until they get onto the clock at 31. He already knows, hey, wait a minute. If Borgonzi in Tennessee, Ryan Poles in Chicago, the Giants, the Jets, some other teams that the Chiefs have good relationships with and they've dealt with before, maybe the 49ers, I mean, they're in that top 10 of the second round. He knows what they all want. He knows what the cost would be for them to get it to 31. Might even know, the kind of ballpark. I mean, teams aren't always going to necessarily show their hands, but they might say, hey, if there's an offensive lineman available at 31, we might be calling you. So, and Veach might be the one calling them, saying, "Hey, look, 31's available for sale. What you got?" I mean, we talked about this. You said if the player you like this is what you'd give us. Are you interested? I mean, they've had those conversations before, so draft night won't be the first time that Brett Veach is talking about a trade with probably the 10 teams in front of him and the 10 teams behind him at 31.
Yes. Sorry, I'm posting this link on other social platforms for you and I right now to bring
I always appreciate
all the people.
I always love the multitasking.
Here's my challenge. Here's my challenge for each person in the comment section right now. Retweet it on whatever social platform you got right now, or republish it.
I love it.
That's my challenge for all of you. If you really appreciate what we do, and Brian does because he's taking up all the comment section right now. But at least it's not about Andy Heck this time. I'm proud of you, Brian.
I love the challenge. Yes. If whatever social media platform you're on, you want to share the conversation to bring some more people in, and love it. And
I challenge
Brian
you to a duel.
A like and subscribe. It can be X. It can be Blue Sky. It can be, Instagram really doesn't let you do that, but Facebook, for whatever reason, Facebook does not like me, Nick. I mean,
no, what did you do to Facebook?
No, it's just either it's just not a thing, or StreamYard just doesn't really know how to. I mean, I know Jeffrey. We got a like from Jeffrey on Facebook, but Facebook viewers are few and far between. So generally, if you're on X or you're on Instagram on YouTube, you are here. And as always on YouTube, hit the like, hit the bell, hit all those things. Appreciate it. Get more people here. Let's have a party.
How long did we spend on that question?
Long enough that we're let's see. And Brian got all of his. By the way, Brian got all of his Andy Heck questions in before 7:00. So.
Oh no, Brian has no Andy Heck questions for me.
Let's see. We are now officially, what time is it? 20 minutes behind. So, Matthew, any Trey Smith or Trent McDuffie contract updates? Honestly, it's all been quiet, and I'm not surprised there. I would probably be surprised if there's any traction or much talk about McDuffie until after the draft. I mean, we'll see. I mean, the runway for getting the deal done, as I borrow one of Nick Jacobs' phrases, really
taking a Top Gun and Danger Zone right now.
I mean, you can go into August and even the beginning of September on McDuffie. So I'm still expecting it to be a little while on him, and he talks about maybe an extension getting done. Trey Smith, I'm still told spring, which spring is a big window, but I'd be surprised if it gets done before the draft, but after the draft, I think you're going to see a little bit more heat there. So,
yeah, I mean, I just don't think you're going to get McDuffie done until you know where you're at with Trey Smith. I think Trey Smith's first, McDuffie's second. Right now, the Chiefs really need to be focusing on draft anyways. So, if you have people that are exchanging numbers back and forth with the agent, that is completely fine. Let them do that. Let them continue to work to get closer to where it's at. But mentally in my head, I've been thinking about Trey Smith's deal. The earliest I think that party would happen would be anytime after the draft through OTAs in that front. And then I think once that's done, then you've at least exchanged numbers with Trent McDuffie's representation, but you really aren't pushing anything financially until you know where Trey's at.
Yeah, and I don't say this as with any thought that there's potential of it happening, but there's a couple of reasons why you would certainly hold off on getting the Trey Smith deal done until after the draft, because you don't know what the draft is going to bring and what opportunities it might bring. I mean, I'm saying to me, there's like a less than a 1% chance that Trey Smith gets traded, but he's definitely not getting traded if you get an extension done with him. But right now, I mean, if somebody's going to blow your doors off, Nick, and call you up and offer you a obscene number of draft picks for Trey Smith, and then are willing to give him an obscene amount of money,
yeah,
I mean, both sides, meaning the Chiefs and Trey, would probably listen to that. So, you don't want to rule anything out. And also, I mean, if something else happens and the Chiefs were able to acquire, if the Chiefs were able to acquire a left tackle, say a veteran left tackle, once again, not saying it's going to happen, but you keep open that opportunity. And then if it does happen after the draft, that would change what, a Trey Smith extension might look like. It's just as far as how you structure it and where the money goes around. So that's at least one of the reasons why Brett Veach sometimes likes to wait until some things get done, because he doesn't want to close the doors on something else. I mean, he wants to keep all his avenues open as long as he possibly can. And sometimes that works out pretty well for him. So I don't really think it's ever really shot him in the leg too badly. Shot him in the foot. But you have a look, Nick.
No. I'm good.
I figured it was me or a commenter.
No, not at all. Commenters are doing great. I'm proud of all of them.
Brian, George Karlaftis or McDuffie? If the pass rush stinks, the DBs suck. If you lose McDuffie, we got nothing. What do you think, Nick?
Look, I mean, George Karlaftis is a complimentary pass rusher right now, so he needs Chris Jones to be on point. He needs Charles Omenihu to be there. Then he needs the coverage to give him time to get around from this past year. So right now, complimentary pass rushers in my book, and that's a phrase I use, and I expect to hear it far and wide here in the weeks and months ahead. But with a complimentary pass rusher, they need a support system to bring out their best. So I think that's where Karlaftis is at in his career. You hope it doesn't stay that way. You hope he becomes kind of the guy you pay. But right now, anybody who's kind of the main feature, you're giving $20 million or more above. So I don't think Karlaftis is there yet. McDuffie's your number one corner. And here's the thing I want to say overall. A lot of what the Chiefs defense, in my opinion, is about is contingent on their current scheme. So if you invest, and I'm being serious about this thing, if you're going to invest in players on defense, they need to be able to translate in different schemes. If the scheme changes, if Steve Spagnuolo hypothetically got a head coaching job, or some of the other coaches on staff got defensive coordinator jobs elsewhere, then you've got to know where that scheme's potentially going to go. If it's going to be similar to what it is, or is it going to be varied, or is it going to be different? So what Trent McDuffie's worth is in this scheme right now might be different if there were a new defensive coordinator down the road. So whenever you're signing things up financially, you have to do that based on that as well.
And that's very similar to what I was talking about earlier, which is just that it's keeping your options open in some ways. And hey, committing to George Karlaftis is the more difficult decision, because at this point, I mean, I think that, hey, if you're George Karlaftis, you want to go out there and put up a contract year this year. I mean, you've got 2 more years to put up contract years, but if you put up one right now, you can force the Chiefs into making a decision to pay to keep you.
I'll be back. Hold on.
McDuffie, I just don't feel like, with McDuffie, you have to worry too much about that. I mean, his value is not going to go any further up. The only thing that can happen with McDuffie is that he just gets more expensive because the market's going to continue to go up. So, to me, I think it's an easy one about which one you would prefer to get done. I don't think it's also an either or, but I can see, and once again, this question comes up in a different way, Brian. I mean, is in the sense that we've had the question before about why do the Chiefs wait to sign free agents? Well, it's not always their choice. I mean, last year, with Trey Smith, Nick Bolton, and Creed Humphrey, they had 3 players that they really wanted to try and get done with extensions. Hey, Nick Bolton didn't want to sign an extension because he felt like coming off an injury, his value wasn't as high as it could and should be. He wanted to go out and prove that he was worth more money. So goes out. Even his 2-year deal, I mean, it's built on Nick Bolton going out and having 2 more really good seasons and hitting free agency again still at a young age so that he can try and make and bank a 3rd big contract. Trey Smith didn't want to.
Somebody's asked about t-shirts in the comment section. They're like, I've seen that t-shirt before. Have you seen the Mr. Kool-Aid t-shirt?
I have not seen the Mr. Kool-Aid. No.
So now you have.
You look like that you could absolutely bust through that bank of monitors behind you.
Cool.
But hey, as always, it takes two to make a deal, and I think that it would be much easier for the Chiefs to get something done with McDuffie right now. And if I'm George Karlaftis and the Chiefs, I think I'm probably. I mean, the Chiefs, if you could get a deal done with George Karlaftis right now based on what he's shown you to this point, you'd sign it. But George Karlaftis probably wouldn't sign that because he wants to go out and prove that he's worth more money.
Good, let him.
There you go.
Increase that value.
And that's why we have the Kool-Aid shirt.
Mm-hmm. Only for a couple of minutes. It's a really hot
awesome
shirt.
This is, once again, Sport Coffee Nick is a fun Nick.
Mm-hmm.
And your rants are beloved. These are all excellent points.
People trying to get me in trouble with my rant. Hold on, this t-shirt's really hot, so I'm gonna change.
Okay, while we wait for Nick to change his shirt again, cousin Luke, you're gonna have to wait for your answer. You guys, there's a lot of questions now for Nick, so I'm gonna have to skip a few before I find anything here. We can wait until Nick gets back. Oh. Hey, Ethan, do you guys like to watch any other sports during the off season? This is when I can start, and then we can ask Nick when he gets back. Because I mean, Nick has to watch everything all year round. I mean, I like watching base. I was always a baseball guy first. I mean, just because of my life now and job and everything, I certainly watch more football than baseball. As Nick
Matt
has come in with a third shirt.
Hey, I'm gonna do this. It's a QR code.
Is this one just right?
Scan the what? Scan the QR code. Scan the QR code, people.
Okay, wait a minute. Now I have to scan the QR code now.
Yeah, do it. Do it.
I'm afraid of what I'm going to get.
14 seconds. Scan the QR code.
As I turn down the volume so I don't get a copyright ding.
Oh, man. Okay, well, I hope you did. All right, I'll be right back.
Everybody may have heard that very briefly. So I don't know if we're going to get a fourth shirt from Nick, or that was going back to the very beginning, or are we going to get a fourth one? We'll find out. But Ethan, but I don't watch as much baseball as I would like to and used to. I'm also getting older, so I probably don't have as much of as interest as I used to. I mean, when I was younger, I mean, for sure, I devoured just about pretty much everything that was on. Now, if it wasn't a Mizzou game, I probably did not watch a Mizzou. I did not watch a college basketball game in its entirety this year, which does make you really wonder how I was able to do as well with my bracket this year. But
Hi.
I'm struggling with this, Nick, because outside of football,
the question is who scanned the QR code? Because if you did, you got a real treat.
There you go. I scanned the QR code, so I know what happened.
I heard it in the background.
Casey Harold did. There you go. I'm answering this question very, very badly, Nick, because at this point in my life, I don't watch much beyond football.
Okay.
I know, because your job have to watch everything.
I mean, I don't have to watch everything. I just like to provide good coverage of the greater Kansas City area.
But what sports do you like to watch during the football offseason?
It's not about what I like, Matt. It's what I do.
It's what you do.
Yeah. So, like, people. All right. Here's what I'm gonna throw out here real quick, and I'm gonna try to do this in a synopsis real quick. So, right now, I will be keeping tabs on Royals baseball, Kansas City Current soccer, Sporting Kansas City soccer. And that's normally, all three of those are normally on a Saturday these days. But Sporting's going to play on a Sunday coming up here pretty soon. So that'll be, Current won't be on that day. But then you got K-State baseball, you got Missouri baseball. Missouri baseball's not doing too well right now. KU baseball is doing really well. K-State's doing well. Missouri softball, I watch all the time. And they're going to play number 1 Texas this upcoming Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we get that going on.
Already stole a game from number 1 Oklahoma. Ended their winning streak.
Yeah, they were 28-0 this year, and they were number 1 in the country. And then Missouri beat them on that Saturday 3-0 with a couple of Kansas City locals. And that's how that happened. So, yeah, for me, I'm always following some type of sport, whether it's Missouri, Kansas, KU. MIAA tournament was going on. Washburn and Pitt State, we were keeping tabs on them last week for both men's and women's because they were in the Elite Eight trying to go to the Final Four. Washburn made it all the way to the Final Four, but lost before the championship, so they weren't able to be on CBS on Saturday. So what I'm getting at in this grand scheme of it is I watch a lot of different sports. So sometimes people think that my whole life revolves around the Chiefs and fixating on the Chiefs, and like that I just sit in my room and watch potential free agents and draft picks all the time. It's barely 4 hours of my day, and that's in my personal time.
Except there's some days where it's a lot more of your day. But...
Well, Matt, those are on
your personal days.
They're on my off days.
So the answer is really what sports do you like to watch during the off season is more football.
I mean, I look, man, I got a job where I do that all the time. So,
well, we have a bunch of questions for you now, Nick. So,
all right,
they're not asking for me, so I feel like I should just turn the show over to you and leave. But I won't do that.
Don't do that to me, Matt.
Because I dragged you into questions that only had my name. But your cousin Luke wants to know: do you think Felix Anudike-Uzomah is primed for a breakout season? Thought he flashed down the stretch last year.
I mean, this is a big year for him to decide what he's going to be. I still feel like he's at his best when he's rushing from a wide nine perspective, and the Chiefs don't do that very often in the scheme that they have. So this to me is kind of the make or break year for him, where like he needs to figure it out. But they brought Minihue back as insurance, so I mean that's going to be up to Felix where he goes. And I still would draft multiple defensive ends and defensive linemen in general for the pass rush overall, because you got to get better than where you were last year, and you can't bank on, people that were previously on the roster because they had the opportunities to prove that you didn't need to add anybody, and they were not able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I've always felt like the third year for Felix was going to be the year. I mean, he was a late bloomer. He was really young. I mean, he was only 21 still when the Chiefs took him in the first round. This was always going to be the year. I always think back to, Tyrann Mathieu once, talking about the fact that everybody talks about year two and that being the year that guys should break through. And he's like, you know what? Some guys don't. I mean, some guys it's year three, and there's even, a smaller group that maybe it's year four, and there might be a person here or there that it's year five. I mean, it can happen at any time. But you're right. This is the year. I mean, Felix needs to break through. And I mean, hey, what did the Chiefs view him as right now? I mean, Chiefs view him as a situational pass rusher. That's what he's proven that is what he can be the most right now. So it's up to him to prove that he can be more than that. So that's their expectation out of him. If he can prove that he's more than that, more power to him. But it's time for him to step up. Why do I have Dick Vermeil and talk about getting out of diapers going through my head, Nick?
I don't know why you're thinking about Larry Johnson right now. But that's your thing.
Chris wants to know if you have ever thought about applying for a job at NFL Films.
No, I have no interest in moving to New Jersey, but thank you.
You can also end up in Los Angeles now, and Inglewood.
Then you would potentially become an employee of ESPN soon if you read the reports.
Fair enough. Brian, I think facetiously wants to know if the Chiefs need a sumo coach.
I don't think so. But I mean,
hey, if a torpedo bat's a thing, I mean, come on, shouldn't we just consider anything outside the box at this point?
Yeah, but there's no torpedo related things for football right now.
Aren't sumo wrestlers basically the torpedo bats of the NFL?
I mean, if you want to phrase it that way, I mean, go for it.
Hey, Mitchell, if a top three defensive lineman, Luther Burden and Omarion Hampton, unlikely, are at 31, who do you pick?
Probably defensive lineman, depending on who it is. If it's a specific person, defensive line wise, then yes, I go defensive line. Then Hampton second. Burden, after Bob McGinn's article came out about some of the breakdowns and concerns in the scouting community, it makes more sense about why things are going the way they are and people are projecting them in the second round now.
Yeah, but I said the same. There were similar things to a little bit of a degree about Rashee Rice that were out there, and that's what caused him to fall to the second round. And ultimately, he shouldn't have. So I wonder if that's, I don't know. I feel like a team is still going to take a chance on him. I would absolutely take Burden at 31. Now, if a top 3 defensive lineman, I mean, if you're at that point, and let's say it's either one. I mean, top 3 edge or top 3 D tackle. I mean, I think that group is actually deep enough that yes, maybe tackle is interesting because I mean, outside of probably Mason Graham, anybody could be available at 32 or 31, but I kind of feel like that there's even more depth down. So I don't know if in that case, I'd probably go edge or Burden. Should we be talking more about Omari and Hampton if he were there, which he's not going to be, but if he were?
It just depends when the time happens and when it, we'll see who the heck's on the board at that point. I mean, I'm a big Hampton fan, but I also know the Chiefs can get other running backs later on in the draft. Well, defensive linemen, I think if they want to get that or cornerback, I think they're going to have to make sure they address that in the first 3 rounds.
And that's where the trickier question gets in. I mean, let's say there's a run on edges and tackles, and suddenly, I mean, let's say the scenario happens that Omari Hampton is your best player on the board. Do you take him, or do you go to a different way to get a more premium position?
You trade back. You trade back and see if you can get him on the top of the second.
That's the correct answer, by the way.
But you just don't want that. You don't want that stigma for him if you get him, where people will keep trying to compare him to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now the Chiefs didn't learn from their situation before, and you just don't let that happen again.
Have you ordered a torpedo bat yet?
No, I can't say that I have.
I have not either. I have my Louisville Slugger in here though, so it's my thinking stick, just like Tom Cruise and Top Navy Lawyer.
Okay.
Red Royce knows that you are a happy-go-lucky guy, Nick, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows that.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate them. Some people would disagree with you.
Jake wants to know, Nick, do you recall why Jalen Travis was not on your offensive tackle board? Too many bad habits to fix with him coming from Iowa State, 3 years at Princeton. Feel free to point me to the previous rant.
Jake, I'm going to point you to right here and now. Right here and now. So the first preface is that I make when it comes to offensive linemen in terms of draft prospects is, do they have the people that can develop them? And have they proven over time that they can develop them? Because if they can, then you can have players that have weaknesses in their game that will get fixed. Or that you can develop over time. But with the way things have been going the past handful of years, it doesn't seem like spending draft capital has gotten the return on investment that it should with where they've picked up guys at. So there's a bigger question there that I'm going to save for a couple weeks. Is there something Matt knows that I'm wanting to do, and I'm going to wait on that moment, and then I will share it with all of you, and then we will go from there. But there's a certain fact-finding thing I want to do before we get to that point on that front. But what I can tell you about Jalen Travis is this. I'll even pull up the notes just for Jake here. What I wrote about Travis is a high-effort guy that just lacks the fluidity in his kick step to be more than a developmental player right now. His pickups and pass-offs are less than ideal. He normally gives up the inside shoulder to defenders to chase the outside rusher or blitzer. He can create stalemates in the run game and pass pro, but he doesn't have the strength right now to be dominant at the NFL level. And I put Travis is a little slower than you would want on polls because of his size. So that's a handful of things that are going to take at minimum a couple years to develop. So if that takes a couple years, that means probably the first 2 years he's behind somebody or he's on the field having to just kind of work through it and deal with it. And then on top of it, you're hoping to finally get him up to par by year 3, year 4 overall. And then at that point, you may have to make a decision, and then they may have already invested in the position behind him as an offensive tackle. So for me, right now, especially the offensive tackle position, the board I'm going to make is going to be based more on what they could do quicker and get more out of the first 4 years of that player's contract than somebody that's going to take most of their rookie contract to develop, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I mean, basically what you've just said and, and what I've just read as far as is great. And that's about the extent of my knowledge about Jalen Travis. The only thing that would intrigue me about him, and this would be as like a seventh round developmental pick or priority free agent. He's huge, man. I mean, he's 6'8", 339, and he's got like almost 35-inch arms. I mean, that's like the template for a left tackle. It's just not super athletic, it looks like.
So, I mean, somebody like that, you're kind of, I know it sounds dumb probably, but from a developmental perspective, that's where you're kind of investing those 7th round picks because they're going to be the equivalent of UDFAs on that front. Because right now you've really got to be able to get guys that can make an impact and be on your roster quickly in those first 4 rounds.
There
that
you
you can get on the field part of year 1, ideally all of year 2, and then you're hoping they're one of your starters/veterans by year 3.
There you go. Ethan, stadium question. If the Chiefs do decide to move across the state line, is it pretty much a done deal that they would move to the Legends area? Also, would the Chiefs or would the Royals move close by or choose somewhere else? I mean, I certainly get the impression that if the Chiefs move across the state line into Kansas, the consensus is that it would be in the Legends area. I think that's really the only area that, 1, makes a lot of sense, and 2, has enough space, 3, seems to have a consensus around it from all the powers that be. I don't know that a lot of other solutions would be, that great politically. I'm not sure that the Chiefs, I don't know if that stadium would fit real well and with the atmosphere of Chiefs games and what that means, like really like the tailgating aspects of it. I don't know if an urban setting would be a great place for the Chiefs. Do I think that the two teams are going to end up close to each other? No. And I mean, I've said all along, I think it's really difficult to expect or to ask at this point that a single group of taxpayers like Jackson County has done supports both of these teams. I think you're going to have to broaden the base of that support. So I fully expect that the Chiefs and the Royals are going to be separate. They both have indicated they're going to go separate ways. If the Chiefs stay at the Truman Sports Complex, the Royals certainly won't be there. I don't expect the Royals to stay at all at the Truman Sports Complex. So all of the Chiefs' most likely destinations would be far from where the Royals would end up. And I know there's a lot of speculation about where the Royals are going to be. Good thing is, Ethan, I mean, I think by the end of the summer, we're probably going to know where both these teams want to go. I mean, it might not be the final answers, but I think we're going to get a pretty good indication by July or August about which place both these teams want, what their direction is going to be. It may not, like I said, won't necessarily be the final decision, and we'll know what it's going to look like. But I think that will be, we're going to know in the next 4 to 5 months what's going on.
Yeah, I got nothing for
it. Brian, have 5 top 100 picks, and I think we're talking about that from a trade perspective. I mean, if the Chiefs move back, Nick, they could have 5 top 100 picks.
Yeah, you're hoping you can, in an ideal world, if you're trading back from that first, then you're kind of hoping you can pick up a third, maybe, depending on how far back you go, maybe a fourth. But any And if you move back with that 63rd pick, it would be a team being willing enough to give you one of their thirds. So it'll, if they had duplicate thirds in that front. So, I mean, we'll see. It'd be great if they had that many, if not more.
And I wouldn't, certainly if you're trading back, I wouldn't be opposed to also picking up a little bit of quantity instead of just quality, because I mean, you could use a 5th this year. I mean, if you get a 4th, I mean, I'm not going to turn it down. You're going to get a 3rd or a 4th. I mean, I'm not going to tell a team, no, don't give us that 3rd or 4th. But you currently have a 5th and a 6th round this year where you don't have any picks. So if you're able to pick up a 5th or a 6th somewhere along the line, I think that would be ideal. But you also have a hole next year in the 6th round. I think you would love to be able to pick up an extra pick in next season. I know certainly the Chiefs expect to get some compensatory picks, but you can't bank on those. So, that's that to be. I would always be looking for. I'd always be looking for picks. I mean, in particular now in this year in this life cycle, Nick, for lack of a better phrase, I think one of the best things that the Chiefs can do is to pick up more picks. I don't know if they necessarily need to be moving up and giving away even more draft capital. I think they need more players, not fewer. But your mileage may vary.
It might, Matt. It just might.
Brian wants to know, what did he win?
For what?
I think you said he won because he didn't have any Andy Heck questions for you.
Oh, I don't remember anymore.
Luttrell just
you want a thumbs up. Good job.
Luttrell even posted your mileage may vary before I even just said it. So
that's right, Matt.
Ooh, there you go. I need to get you a lightning round shirt, Nick.
Well, I wish you the best in that one.
I can get that custom made.
All right. Good luck with that.
Brian, do we need to add a nasty cornerback to help McDuffie?
I would just like to see a cornerback to go with him, Fulton, and Jalen Watson personally. So whatever that may be, there's some quality cornerbacks out there that I think the Chiefs, at minimum, gives them somebody that they can work behind Trent McDuffie if they can't come to terms on something long term. But it also kind of gives them insulation if Jalen Watson were to move on and get a payday, or if Josh Williams gets a payday, or something of that nature. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to see the Chiefs go out and get a cornerback in this draft. Wherever they get that from, I think it can easily range from round 1 to there in the 4th round. But yeah, I hope they get at least a corner.
I mean, I'm not going to dismiss the fact that Christian Fulton's kind of nasty. I mean, he's got a physical streak in him, so I don't mind that at all. And yeah, I mean, if you're gonna get a corner, I mean, if the one trait you will want that a corner to have for Dave Merritt and for Steve Spagnuolo, they need to have some dog in them, Nick.
Oh boy,
got to have that dog, Nick.
All right,
Luttrell, what are your views on the tush push vote? How do you think it goes? What would you like to happen? In case you haven't heard, the NFL owners tabled discussion on the tush push for now. They will probably bring it up at the May owners meetings, which is traditionally, Nick, kind of the time when if there's decisions that the owners disagree with their coaches, they will sometimes table it at the league meeting when the coaches are there, and then bring it up in May when the coaches aren't there. So I don't know. I mean, the report from a couple different sources today, Nick, was that it was 16-16 favor and against the proposal for banning the tush push. Should they ban it?
If it were up to me, I would vote yes. Move on from it. Stop doing it. Let's move on with our lives. But I think, I hate to say it this way, but I think it's going to take some players getting hurt for people to change their opinions. Like, it's going to take a franchise quarterback getting hurt for, and getting bent like a pretzel in a way for people to be like, all right, this isn't a good idea anymore. Or it's going to take like an offensive lineman that a team's paying a high amount of dollars to, for that to end up being the case. But sadly, I think until players start getting hurt from it, and with it not being as high impact of a play, I just don't that's why they've been able to avoid it so far. But it's just going to take the right. It's going to take just the right situation, and a star quarterback gets hurt from it, and then everybody will be up in arms about it, Or if the Chiefs start doing the play over and over again and get successful from it, then the league will take it away the very next year. So that's the decision you got to make from it.
Here's an interesting question: Is Gardner Minshew a tush-push quarterback?
Matt, you want to know what you need in a tush-push situation?
You need a center that can lead the way.
You know what you need in a tush-push situation?
What else do you need in a tush-push situation?
An offensive line that is allowed to drive block on a regular basis and wedge block.
See, and that was going to be my next point, which is that I heard a discussion today about this that was saying, hey, was the tush-push as integral to the Eagles this year as it had been the last couple of years? I mean, would they have won the Super Bowl without it? I mean, they might have. I mean, they were a really good team this year. I don't know if they were necessarily as good at it this year since they don't have Jason Kelce.
Yeah, Jason Kelce is the key for that being unstoppable.
And when they start getting a turnover at those guard positions too, I mean, are they going to be as successful at it? I mean, that's how I feel, is like it's teams that one can't do it and run it that are going to be most against it right now. So, I mean, if Clark Hunt wants to vote against it, I don't blame him, because you're not running that play with Patrick Mahomes. You're not running it with your offensive line the way it is right now either. But the only thing that concerned me coming out of today, Nick, is that there talk about if it gets banned, it might get folded into the conversation of banning pushing and pulling. And that gets a little tricky to me because, well, obviously the Chiefs have had some successes with pushing in the past. I mean, they've had some they got a couple of guys right now who like to push guys. So, that could get dicey if you start, banning pushing and pulling, but also for the same reasons. I mean, obviously guys can get hurt when you're pushing and pulling them.
So you're 100% right about that. But you want to know how you don't have to push or pull somebody?
How's that?
As if you routinely practice drive blocking off the line of scrimmage over and over again, because you'll have already created the hole for the running back or for the person running with the football.
So you don't have to shove your running back into the end zone?
Yup.
I don't know what's going to happen, Lateral. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if the owners can get the votes when their coaches aren't around. And I thought it was interesting, Nick, too, because I saw an interview with Nick Sirianni over the weekend where, I think he thought it was going to be a lot closer, but he felt like he was okay because he felt like he had at least 7 coaches on his side. Between a couple of his own assistants that have gone on and gotten jobs elsewhere, that he feels like he better have their votes, and maybe a couple of other teams that might be considering trying to run it next year. And it only takes 8. I mean, it requires 24 votes to 9 technically. I mean, it requires 24 votes to pass a rule change. So, follow up from Luttrell: any new of the new rules?
Sirianni and I quit paying attention.
Follow-up question from Luttrell: any new rules you are happy with or dreading?
I don't care. I really don't care. I mean,
I had this ready just in case anybody wanted to talk about it, because here's the rule changes that were approved today. One makes the new kickoff rule permanent, but also changes the touchback to the 35-yard line from the 30. Obviously, Nick and I think that the best solution to the problem of touchbacks is pushing the kickoff back, but the NFL apparently is against that, and they would rather have the touchbacks come out to the 35, which I guess means we're going to have a bunch of touchbacks to the 35 next year. The postseason, regular season overtimes would be changed so that both teams will get a possession regardless. Regular season is going to be 10-minute overtime still. The postseason will be 15. There was an expansion of instant replay to advise on-field officials on the specific objective aspects of play and or to address administrative issues when clear and obvious video is present. Kind of cleans up a little bit more, gives them a little bit more freedom. Some things that they've been able to kind of do in the past with just calling down from the box, but now if there's a little bit more complicated issues or anything like that, they can clear them up with instant replay review. They can expand a little bit of what they can review and try to fix. Bylaws, the teams can now, this is a good one, teams can place 2 players on the designated to return from injury during the reduction to 53 players on the roster. So you can put 2 guys on IR now and bring them back later. They're not out for the season, but it can only be done with that cut down to 53 players. So it's, in the past, you could put a player on IR during training camp, but if you did so, they were out for the season. I mean, that's still going to happen if you do it during training camp, but if you do it on cut down day, you can still bring back 2 of those players. I'm trying to remember the next one. Oh, you get the number of designated for return players is going from 8 to 10. That's plenty. My favorite, the small one, Nick. The bylaws have been changed to insert point differential as the 3rd tiebreaker for awarding contracts off of waivers. So if you're a real big waiver fan, you got a clarification there. The one about the K-balls, the teams are allowed to prepare those before the game, so they're not just locked up by the officials. The teams and the kickers can work out those balls and get them the way they want them. That's a change. And an interesting one, Nick. Teams will now have the ability to have a video or phone call with no more than 5 prospective unrestricted free agents during the negotiating window. In the past, they were not allowed to have any contact with players, only their agents during the negotiating window. They can now, in addition to negotiating contracts, they can also arrange for travel for them during the negotiating window. So they don't have to wait until 4 p.m. on a Wednesday to arrange for them to come fly into a brand new city for their physicals and all those nonsense and everything. And they can actually talk to a player before giving them $100 million contract.
Nope.
So anything on the list that you care about?
Nope.
No. I don't know if it's going to make a big difference or not, but I mean, obviously letting teams actually talk to players during the negotiating window. I mean, one, I'm sure it was already happening and nobody was getting caught. So if you're not caught, it's not against the rules, I guess. You're not cheating. You're not trying. The K-ball thing, I probably will eventually catch up with them. I mean, somebody's going to probably do something and deflate gate the footballs or something, and we'll be back where we once were on those kind of things. I'm always in favor of anything that's, lets players get more of a chance. So the injured reserve changes as far as designated players to return. The big one for allowing 2 players at the beginning of the season to go on injured reserve is great, because that's been a real issue in the past. It's been complicated. It's definitely been an issue for the Chiefs sometimes, where they've had to let somebody go, leave them on waivers or release them as a veteran, just so they can put somebody on injured reserve. So there's nothing I mean, other than that they should be moving the kickoff back rather than the touchback line. But there you go. My dissertation on the rules changes. Brian, if Veach passes on Simmons or trades back, describe the backlash.
From who?
Good question. Would there be any backlash from you, Nick?
No, because then I would know they didn't like where the medical is at.
Well, if Veach has the opportunity to pass on Simmons at 31, it will also mean that every team in the NFL has questions about the medicals. We just won't know about the Eagles yet. But everybody else will have had problems with the medicals. So that would probably tell me everything that I need to know. I would imagine that there would be some backlash from some quarters of Chiefs Kingdom that they weren't taking him, but I'm with you. I mean, if he's available at 31, he's available at 31 for a reason. It's because people are not happy with the medicals.
Yep. So we'll see as the shield turns how it goes.
As the shield turns. Let's see. I don't know, Brian, were you asking if Clark would allow them to take Simmons, or was that I wasn't sure about the question there. So if you want to clarify that, feel free.
Well, I'll just take a stab on it for Brian there, and I think Clark's okay with whatever Brett Veach and Andy Reid want to do, since they've been to Super Bowl. Let's see, how many years have they been to Super Bowl now, Matt? Let's count it up. 2019 season, 2020 season, They got the AFC. They did not get in 2021. The Bengals got there. They got there in 2022 and won. Got there in 2023 and won. Got there in 2024 and lost. So they've been to Super Bowl 5 of the past 6 years. I think they've built up enough cachet for Clark to be like, you do what feels right in your heart.
Accurate. Yes. There is that. Mitchell, I'm convinced Quinshon Judkins is the perfect realistic drafted running back for KC. Any chance he's a Chief after the draft?
I think taking a running back like Judkins that high in the second round, which is where people expect him to go. People expect him to go second, third round. I think it's just going to be a matter of who's on the board at that point. I feel like from a running back perspective, I feel like there's going to be some quality running backs there in the fourth and fifth round, personally, that may end up having better careers long term. Could be wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same ballpark. I mean, and once again, it would depend on what else is there. I mean, if he's the best player on your board and you're Brett Veach, you take him. I mean, that's going to be my philosophy. If you're sitting there at 63 and he's the best player on your board, you take him.
Hey, Ryan, in the comment section, we don't know. We don't know where he's going to be at on the board, Ryan. Surprise. Well, it'll be a surprise for all of us.
You never know. Matt. No, it's okay. You never know. And if you had to take him at 31, that would probably be too high. I mean, I get it. I mean, hey, if you think he's the next Kareem Hunt, you take him. I mean, I'm not sure the Chiefs would. But you know what, Nick? Your mileage may vary.
Oh, and there it is.
There you go.
That'll be 3, maybe 4 times tonight. Matt has thrown out the mileage might vary.
Uncle Charlie.
Charlie.
Do you agree that Andy Heck has had a tougher job than Jeff Stoutland? Eagles left tackle Jason Peters retired at 38. Center Jason Kelsey retired at 36. Right tackle Lane Johnson, 34 plus. Chiefs lost 3 offensive line starters in 2020. I mean, the counterpoint to it would be, why were those guys all as good as they were? Did Jeff Stoutland have help? Probably. I mean, it's a chicken and an egg. I get it. And the Eagles obviously drafted really, really well. I mean, there was no doubt. I mean, those were 3 really, really good players. But I feel like you want to say something, Nick.
No, I said the question's for Matt Derrick. So
well, I'm asking you.
No, you don't need to ask me.
I do want to ask you.
The question specialized for Matt Derrick.
I don't think it was specialized just for me.
It says question for MD. My initials are not MD, Matt.
But maybe you are Dr. Jacobs in this scenario.
There is nothing that references me in there in any way, shape, or form. So I am free from this question.
I mean, I was looking up to see. I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, Jeff Stoutland's been there since 2013. So I would say and argue that a lot of their success of those 3 particular guys, well, and I think all 3 of those guys would absolutely tell you that Jeff Stoutland was a huge part of their success. So I get a little bit of a chicken and an egg, but I mean, at the same time, Chiefs drafted well too. I mean, and made deals. I mean, they gave Andy Heck 3 all-pro caliber interior offensive linemen. So it's not like the cupboard been bare. So
Matt, I got a question for you.
Fire away.
How long has Andy Heck been here?
Andy Heck has been here exactly as long as Jeff Stoutland has been in Philadelphia. So
they've been in the same locations during the same amount of time.
And it says a lot about a coach that how many head coaches has Jeff Stoutland worked for in Philadelphia?
Because they know how good of an O-line coach he is, and they're not dumb enough to let him go.
Maybe
he's the key. He's been the key for every coach there.
He's worked for Chip and you could Kelly say, and Doug Sirianni. Yeah.
Yeah, because they all understand that, like, well, and it's not necessarily the coaches; it's the front office above them. It's like, no, you're keeping him. No, you're going to be keeping him because Jason Kelsey was drafted under Andy Reid and got initially coached by Howard Mudd. Lane Johnson was drafted Stoutland's rookie year. And then Jason Peters was already there, if I remember correctly, during the Andy Reid era. So, and Andy Reid was the Capitan of that overall, as he was GM still in Philly, right? I mean, Howie was helping, but I think Andy had like final personnel say, if I remember correctly, back then. So, I mean, if we're going to play this thing where Andy Hex had a tougher job than Jeff Stoutland, they've both been in their roles with those organizations the same amount of time. So Heck got to work with John Dorsey for a little bit, and then Brett Veach took over. So he's had 2 general managers. Jeff Stoutland's had Howie most of the time, although Chip Kelly, there was a weird year or two where Chip Kelly it seems like they put Howie in a corner and just said, hey, have fun over there doing whatever. Make sure the stapler works, and then
Chip Kelly burned everything down.
and then they're like, Howie's back in charge now. And so, look, I mean, if you want to say he's had a tougher job, then I would agree if he had less time. But they've had the same amount of time collectively as the offensive line coaches at their franchise. Andy Hex had the benefit of having Andy Reid as the head coach the entire time. Jeff Stoutland, as Matt said, has had 3 different head coaches with 3 different offensive schemes and philosophies. So, to actually flip your question, when you take all the factors and variables in there, Jeff Stoutland's had a lot more variables that he's had to either overcome or have to adjust to than what Andy Heck has. But great question, Uncle Charlie. I enjoyed it.
There you go. Chris, have you been disappointed in the NCAA tournament?
No, all Final Four of my teams that I picked are in it, so I've been pretty happy.
Me too. I'm really close, Nick. I'm 15th in the ESPN Wichita bracket.
It's awesome.
Yes, and if Duke beats Florida in the national championship, I will finish in the top 10, which means I win a prize package, Nick. So I'm very excited about this possibility.
What type of prize package are we talking here, Matt?
I do not know, but I'm just really excited because I haven't won a prize package. I mean, it's been a long, long time. I won an NASL soccer ball at a get and go from Rock 99 in like 1979. That was pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And I won 2 tickets to the Southwest Missouri State, Cleveland State basketball game in 1986. That was pretty exciting. And I also won a box of meats and sausages from Schmecke's. So those are like my big 3 prize packages.
Seems like you've had a lot of. Matt, seems like you've had a lot of joy in these tournaments, and I love that for you.
Well, these weren't like, tournament wins. These were just various other, but this would be, I mean, if I can win this prize package, that would be very exciting.
All right. Well,
and right now in this group, I'm tied with Jamie Bluma. Yeah. And he wins the entire pool and the pot and everything if Duke beats Auburn in the final. So There you go. Christine, if Nolan, Hampton, and Burden are all there at 31, who would each of you want to take the Chiefs to take? This is a hard one for me, Nick. This is a hard one.
I'm going to let you go first, Matt.
It's a hard one. I mean, I'm going to have to lean on the fact that I just can't take a running back and put them through the torture of being the next Chiefs running back at 31 in the first round. And I'm going to have to set aside my Luther Burden love because the Chiefs need a defensive tackle. They need a guy like Walter Nolan. So I think I got to take him, Nick. I mean,
yeah, no, Nolan too. I'm taking that wasn't a hard decision. Best defensive lineman, yes. And the guy who shouldn't be there at 31, yes.
Yeah. I mean, after the Michigan kids, he's the best, right?
He's definitely in the top 3. It just depends on your viewpoint about what works for what scheme.
Yeah. I mean, It's hard for me because I generally have been saying if Luther Burden is there at 31, I'm definitely taking him and everything. But I knew somebody would come up with a scenario that would make it painful for me. We'll make it hurt. But that's just too much of a need for the Chiefs. Yeah, if they can get somebody of like Walter Nolan at 31, yeah, you got to do that. It hurts, but I'm sticking with it. Final answer. Mitchell, would you be okay with KC waiting on DL and taking Deion Walker? They say he takes plays off, but they say that about Chris Jones? Maybe he just needs to be coached up.
I'm deferring to you, Matt.
I was going to defer to you.
Yeah, I know, but I'm deferring to you.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure. I mean, once again, I say trust your board. I mean, it's the best player available at a particular position. If you're not taking Walker at 31, because he's not going to be the best, I don't believe probably the best player on your board at that particular position. I guess the question would be if that's the case at 63 or 66, he's the best player. We had this conversation the other day on 41 is the mic, which you can always listen to. I'm not too worried about when they say the guys take plays off, because once again, you made the exact same point, Mitchell, that I made on Sunday. That's what they said about Chris Jones, and who's saying that about Chris Jones these days?
So with Walker and some of those guys who are probably more one techs, like when you say they take plays off, you got to look at their snap count, what they're doing, what they're being asked to do. Are they taking on double teams more than more than their teammates that are getting single blocks, and that's their purpose. And you gotta, what NFL teams have to know, and this is where colleges don't do as well with this at times, is you got to know where that player's threshold is snap count wise, and not go over it if you're trying to keep them at maximum efficiency. So for somebody like Walker, you're going to probably work with him on conditioning, get him down to a certain level so he can play more snaps down the road. You may not be able to early on. So when people say that they take plays off, it's not necessarily that they take plays off, is that they get tired. And when some players get tired, they can't give the same level of effort until they get their oxygen back, or they, get some Gatorade or Gatorlight or whatever the heck they may have over there on the sidelines to replenish those electrolytes, Matt. So that's why when a player runs hot and cold, that's the first thing you got to see is where they at from a conditioning perspective.
There you go. 100%. Jesus with the super chat. How high did you guys have Sky Moore in your draft, and why has he not been a productive second rounder? I mean, of the two of us, Nick, you're the only one that has the courage and the guts to put their board out there and everything. Yeah. So
don't worry, people criticize no matter what you do, Matt. so just feel comfortable putting it out there if you want to.
I will never criticize your board, because anybody who's got the initiative and the dedication to put out the information that you do and to rank the players the way you do, you deserve the benefit of the doubt, because you know a whole lot more about these guys in the draft than I do, because you put the time and the effort in. So I defer to you.
That doesn't matter to some people. Some people are like, why wasn't this person on the board? Why wasn't this person on the board?
Well, because Nick says so. That's why.
No, it's just I only have a certain amount of allotted time to be able to answer people's questions. And then I gotta actually do my day job that pays for my bills and my health insurance and all that other stuff. I am going to pull up this board, Matt. I don't remember what form do we have to have it in again for
it can be a JPEG now. So if you've got it, we can get it up there.
Right now I have it as a PNG. So
I think we can do PNGs. Yeah.
I don't think so, but we'll find out.
Yeah, if you go to present and then image file.
Image files up there now. Oh, yeah.
Yes. It's a change. Yes, it's a change. Oh my goodness.
I don't know if we can zoom in, but I had him in the third round. I had him late third round.
I wish we could zoom in, but we cannot, I don't believe. No.
All right. Well, let me do some thinking here, Matt.
I was gonna say I can.
Let me do some thinking.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if I could download it from what you've done. And
no, I just took a screenshot. Let's see if this one works. Image file, desktop, screenshot. There. Try that one. See if that one helps. There. You'll have to probably remove the graphics real quick if they want to see the entire board from that year. There you go. That's good enough. Oh, Jameson Williams year. I really like Jameson Williams back then. I like George Pickens too, but that wasn't gonna happen. Hey, look, there's Thornton. I had Thornton in the 3rd round, and he's on the Chiefs right now.
I understood why the Chiefs took Sky Moore. My recollection is that I didn't necessarily think that it was a great pick. But I also knew that the Chiefs were not taking George Pickens because they thought that he was insane, and that's pretty much been proven to be the case. I thought the Chiefs might take Tyquan Thornton there, but Tyquan Thornton ended up being a Chief anyway, so he's a Chief now. So it pretty much worked out for both of them that they were eventually going to be Chiefs. So the Sky Moore and Tyquan Thornton are now tied together forever for being just 2 slots apart in the Nick Jacobs board in 2022.
Yep.
I also remember being a big Kyle Shakir fan. That hasn't really developed into anything.
Yeah. Such is life.
Such is life. I was like trying to look if there was anybody else on that board that I'm like, gosh, what happened? A couple of those guys on that board ended up being pretty good, Nick. Not gonna lie.
Yep, that they did, Matt.
All righty. Now we'll somewhat return to halfway normal here. So
back to our regular viewing program.
Back to your regular viewing pleasure. And so now, why has he not been productive? I mean, if the Chiefs knew, they would have made it productive. But
yeah, I just think there's a certain level of precision you have to have, a certain level of being able to adapt and adjust on the fly. And I think he needed to be somewhere where the structure's already set, like the Rams, where the structure's already set, you do what the play calls for and you're gold. I think that's what he's going to need long term to be in this league. And I have his report here right now, Matt. Are you ready for it?
Fire away. What's notes?
Right. So here's what I had. Sky Moore's best route is a slant. It's when he's at his most explosive. He lacks top end speed. Moore wins by getting corners to guess wrong and breaking off of it. He brings a physical presence over the middle. Moore could be a strong 3, but I think he will struggle early on with physical outside corners. He had a hand measurement at 10.25, biggest of the class. He has a high football IQ. And again, I wrote very tough over the middle. And high football IQ, if I remember correctly, I think he did pretty well on one of the tests. And then underneath him, I had Justin Ross from Clemson that I watched. Justin Ross, I have here. Ross is a sloppy route runner that rounds off his breaks. What he has going for him is his height at 6'4". It gives him a great opportunity to outstretch for the football over defenders. Otherwise, he's a possession receiver who needs a solid 10 yards to stride into top-end speed. So those are what I did when I saw them coming out of college from Western Michigan and Clemson. So if you think those are spot on 4 or 5 years later, let me know in the comment section. If they're wrong, you can tell me, but I'm going to ignore it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean, I can't necessarily disagree with your take on, why Sky didn't work out here. It hasn't worked out to this point. I mean, I have a hard time. I'm not going to probably express this well, so maybe I shouldn't even express it at all. But
express yourself, Matt.
In a 2-hour Q&A, I'm going to express myself. 2 hours.
2 hours.
I'll do it in some form or fashion, sloppily at times. But I mean this in the best way possible. I mean, Sky. I think for some guys, I think there's just a challenge and a struggle about taking it from the practice field to the playing field. And college is different than the pros, and Western Michigan might be different than Clemson. Sky's never had any trouble in the practice field. It's just that it just does never seem to click for him on game day. And you know what? There's a lot of guys that are like that. I mean, Sky wouldn't be the only guy. That it's just that maybe the stage is presence is just an issue. I mean, in what I do, I probably have stage fright. So maybe I'm not any different. I'm probably much better off YouTube, Nick, than I am. You know, I'm probably much better one-on-one with you on the phone than I am on the YouTube. So
all right.
maybe I give better content. I don't know. But I mean, Sky's always been a really good practice player. It's never a problem in the practice field. And if that's just when the pads come on, Nick, I mean, we've talked about that too. I mean, that can be part of it. And it's not saying he's not tough or anything of that nature. It's just, hey, for some guys, it's a big step and it just doesn't click.
Ooh, Mitchell at 829. Bring in the hate.
Uh-oh. Sky is very close with Tomlin and his fam, played with his son in high school, so seeing Pitts bypass Sky to trade up for Pickens should have been a major red flag for KC's front office. Simply cannot take him. I mean, you said Mitchell, right? Did I miss that was the wrong one?
2 down.
That's also I don't know if it's true, but if it is, I had not heard that before. That's interesting. PFF was way higher on Sky than most. That's also a different one. What's Mitchell? There you go.
There we go.
Only the hand size was spot on with Sky. There you go. I finally found what you were talking
Mitchell
about.
bringing that hate.
There you go. Well, Mizzou 19, I mean, those are also interesting points. So don't know why. Once again, talk about just stage performance right there, Nick. I mean, you told me Mitchell, and I brought up 2 comments from Mizzou 19 instead. I choked.
All right, so where were we at?
We were back to Ryan asking when we can expect Nick's big board.
I have no idea, Ryan.
That's a fair answer. I mean,
like if I had the whole month of April off, I could tell you the exact day, but I don't. I got to do my day job.
I was just gonna say I was probably sometime before the 24th.
It'll definitely be before that.
So that's all I need.
I'm trying to finish up cornerbacks tonight. I'll try to start on safeties tomorrow, and then I'm hoping to get the linebackers before the week's done. And then after that, then I'm done with what – at that point, I'm officially done with what the Chiefs may be going after. But then I still want to do interior offensive linemen, and then I still want to do quarterbacks. So from a numbers perspective, I'm just going to – let me look here right now. Cornerbacks, I'm at 20, and I got to get to 34. Safeties, I've got about 20 I need to do there, so that'll take a handful of days. Linebackers, probably about 22 that I got to get through. Got to get through 17 guards, about 10 centers. And then quarterback-wise, I think let's see, about 15. So if you want to count all those up, that's probably at minimum, I don't know, a lot more players. Might be under 100, might be more than 100. I don't know at this point.
That is a lot more players, indeed. Jake, excuse me. Would you rather trade back for more picks this year or even more value for next year's draft?
Both.
I mean, I hate to be the cop out, but I would be both as well. I mean, I like I said earlier, Nick, I would love if I'm the Chiefs with what capital you have, I'd love to pick up a 5th or a 6th this year, just to have the ability to get somebody there if I want it. Maybe if you're Brett Veach, you get a 5th back from somebody and you don't like what the board looks like, you could still trade back again. But I'd also love to get at least another pick for next year. So if you can trade back out of the 1st and get a 2nd and a 5th or something of that nature, or 3rd and a 5th, I'd do it.
Yeah, I want 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounders if you can get them this year. That's where and if they can get, like you said, they can get a 5th, I'm good with that too.
There's some meat in those rounds for sure. Pano, why in the world would the Chiefs re-sign Najee Johnson? We could have used that roster spot for someone with NFL upside. I mean, I guess I'm just gonna break it to you, Pano. I've heard this from a lot of Chiefs fans. I've learned this from a lot of people. I know you don't agree. The Chiefs still think there's a lot of upside in Najee Johnson. That's why he's been brought back, because they loved what they saw from Najee before the ACL in year 2 back in 2023. 2024 was a complete comeback year. I mean, you saw in reality, I mean, Najee Johnson should be like a case study in just what is coming back from an ACL injury like, because this is how it's like for most NFL players. It's just that I don't know if we ever really get to see it completely in this regard, Nick, because Najee had his injury in training camp, and so I mean guys do. I mean, it's just the timing of it, but he was not back on the football field again until training camp, and he gets on the field in training camp with everybody watching, and he'd have those days where it's like, I don't know if I can trust this knee. I don't know if it's there. The difference between him and Charles Omenihu, to a degree, is that, when Charles Omenihu was doing his recovery and he hit the exact same time in his rehab and everything, he was doing it in private on the practice fields and away from prying eyes. So we never got to see it. So we never got to see those days when maybe Charles Omenihu was like, wait a minute, I don't trust this knee today. I mean, I need to back it off. And trust me, it happened. I mean, there were days when Charles Omenihu, that knee wasn't feeling it, and he did have to back off of it. Every player does. But when you get a player that was injured at the way that Najee was, at the point that Najee was, and their first football back is literally at training camp with 3,000 odd people every day watching you and tracking your every moment, that hurts. I mean, that's hard. And this year, I mean, that's the way it is for every player coming back from an ACL. Their first year back, they are not 100%. Tershawn Wharton was not 100%. Find anybody with an ACL coming back from one, they were not 100%. The Chiefs, like I said, they thought Najee Johnson really, really looked good before the ACL. There were moments this year where he looked really good. I think he obviously got fatigued and tired, probably worn down a little bit at the end of the season. But the Chiefs want him back, Nick, because they think there's still upside. They think there's still something there. And for what I've seen of Najee and what I've seen on the practice fields and what I saw, from him in OTAs and in training camp before that injury, I think there's upside too.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if you want to rebuttal, give the other side, feel free. I'll allow it.
It's not a passionate project of mine tonight.
I will admit, Najee Johnson is a little bit of a rant for me. So
I know, because I heard you talk about it on the radio last week.
Was it the same rant?
It was something about about him and Omenihu and how they're in the same boat, and because they both had knee injuries they were coming back from, and something like that.
And I will say this is interesting to me, because I know I've had people who've made this point, and I think they made it on the radio the other day. It was because I think Sterling may have made that point, and it was like, well, the Chiefs pass rush was better with Charles Omenihu, so maybe he was making everybody around him better. So, but that doesn't mean that necessarily that Charles was himself. Charles Omenihu wasn't himself. The 2024 version of Charles Omenihu that we saw on the field, I mean, I don't care how you want to slice it. I mean, just isolating it was not as good as the 2023 version of Charles Omenihu. Now, I firmly believe, because the way that ACLs work and the way science works, the way medicine works and the way rehab works, I mean, I believe there's a pretty good chance that Charles Omenihu is going to be closer in 2025 to the 2023 version of himself. So I'm at least consistent that way, Nick.
Good job.
Darn right, Najee is a special teams ace too. Let's see. I'm looking for question marks. So there you go.
Your next one's Ryan Dolan at 8:13.
Oh, see, I missed Ryan's there. Oh, there you go. Let's start with a what. What are the odds DJ Humphries returns to the Chiefs after the draft if he's not promised a starting job? If I were him, I would think I'd still be a starting left tackle with more time to recover.
I mean, for somebody like DJ Humphries, like what him and his representation are probably doing is, like you said, they're seeing who goes out and gets a tackle in the draft. Is there a good situation? Will any of those teams reach out to him afterwards and want to bring him into their OTAs and their mini camp? And then if that's not the case, maybe he wants to wait till training camp and try to get a gig somewhere else before training camp, and then be able to go through a full training camp with the team and be able to do all that. In an ideal world, you want to do the whole offseason with one team, but I mean, I get the impression he wants to play. So if he wants to play, then he'll get an opportunity to battle against somebody, whether that's in Kansas City or elsewhere.
I try not to romanticize players too much. I mean, I try to, I every once in a while I fall for it, Nick. I mean, every once in a while a player comes out, makes a dramatic statement, Myles Garrett, and says they want to play for a winner, and I believe them and everything. I normally believe that players, I mean, everybody has a lot of different motives, but there are three really main motives that drive most NFL players: money, opportunity, and rings. So, I mean, players almost always are going to go where's the most money. So I would assume right now DJ Humphries probably hasn't signed because he's not getting the money that he thinks that he's probably worth. 2, opportunity. I mean, I'm sure that DJ Humphries wants to play. I mean, every NFL player wants to play. I mean, as much as the money's nice, nobody wants to just, make $3 million watching practice. I mean, they'd like to. They don't want to be, Nick, they don't want to make $3 million and be the best at exercising. They want to play football, as you might say.
As I might, no, I have said.
You have said. So, I mean, exactly. He's going to be looking for a place that he can play, where he can make some money. And then I think, obviously, ring is the third thing. I mean, if all things being equal, you got a chance to win some ball games, you're going to go there. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's still a chance that DJ Humphries returns to the Chiefs, because he may look at it and say, wait a minute, I think I'm better than Jalen Moore. So if I go there, chance I'm going to play. But he also may look at it and say, like, wait, they're paying Jalen Moore like a starter, so they're probably going to give him every chance in the world to play, and probably come down to money. So if the other team wants to offer more and offer a better job, you're probably going to go there. So I still think there's a chance. I don't know if it's necessarily a great chance, but I think it's a chance. Mitchell, if the Chiefs take a left tackle at 31, blink twice if you think Andy Heck ruins him. Will you at least do that? Oh, I feel like you blinked twice, Nick.
No, I was deliberately staring at the camera so I wouldn't, but the light's really bright over here.
Well, you did freeze there for a moment, and I wasn't sure if you were actually just, frozen like you were just like a statue, or if your internet connection froze you. And then I saw you do that, and then you squeezed your eyes, but I felt like it was twice.
I think you're just making stuff up.
How many first round grade tight ends are there?
I mean, most people expect Penn State's, I believe it's Tyler Warren to get taken in the first round. Most people expect Colston Loveland to get taken in the first round. The big question a lot of people seem to have is, who do the Broncos take among Hampton, Warren, or Loveland to really help that offense out and help Bo Nix? Because most people are expecting one of those three guys to end up in Denver. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see we'll see if Loveland goes in the top 10, or we'll see what happens. But I think you're expecting 2 tight ends in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking at like NFL mock draft database, and that's exactly how it breaks down. I mean, they've got Warren and Loveland as 2 most frequently first round picks. And then there's a gap with then LSU's Mason Taylor, Miami's Elijah Arroyo, and Harold Fannin from Bowling Green. And there's some people that think I've seen some people think Harold Fannin is the best tight end of this draft, and there's others who think he's just absolutely middle of the road. So it goes once again to just everybody's opinions on football players sometimes can be absolutely divergent, Nick.
And what is the background on Mason Taylor from LSU, Matt?
I can't tell you that much because I haven't done my homework on him yet.
He's the son of Jason Taylor, former Miami Dolphins.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about it. I should have at least known that.
His uncle,
at least known that.
his uncle is Zach Thomas, the former inside linebacker of the Miami Dolphins, and technically with Kansas City Chiefs there for a minute.
A hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
I should have remembered that. I feel bad about myself. Uncle Charlie, this one's for you, Nick. So I can't talk. How many Ohio State Buckeyes are there currently on the Chiefs? Yes, Nick. I can look that up too. But do you remember off the top of your head?
I'm not. My initials aren't MJ, so that's
well.
One.
It was. I think that's a typo.
That's one.
I think that's a typo.
No. There's none.
I was gonna say I can't think of any. So
no, there's none.
Is he being sarcastic? I mean, am I just being obtuse?
I don't know. There's none. And we're at 8:44 now.
Nick, if you've already won the lotto, can you please bribe Dante Scarnecchi? I can't remember how to. There you go. I can never remember how to pronounce that. To unretire.
No. And I haven't won the lottery. I never will win the lottery. So sorry. And I'm not spending that money for that. Sorry.
I thought you won $1 million last night.
I was not in Wisconsin during that event the other day. That was not me, no matter how many people tweet at me.
Albert, what is the slowest part of the Chiefs offseason in terms of content creation? That's a great question. Do you have any thoughts, Nick?
It's never slow for me. I've always got something to talk about.
You do. This is true. This is probably. I mean, this is. I'm not gonna lie. It's probably my low point. Is this time right here? I mean, because pretty much the only thing to do is talk about the draft. So this is probably my low point. I mean, at least. There's also that window, obviously, in late June, early July, where things quiet down, and there's literally nothing that happens in the NFL for the most part between like July 1st and July 9th. But this is when I hit my low point, Nick. This is like for me, because I mean, I feel like if we're talking about, really the ebbs and flows of an NFL year, a calendar year, I mean, to me, I feel like the draft is truly the beginning of the 2025 season. That's the beginning of the new season. So I feel like this period of time in between the Super Bowl and between the draft is kind of its own world. And then you've got the combine, that's kind of exciting and everything. And you have free agency, and that's kind of exciting. And then you hit this period of time between now and say like April 20th, when, the teams kind of get back into things. And that's when like first phase of OTAs begins and everything. You get like 3 weeks where, to me, it's just like, oh my gosh, are we really going to do 14 mock drafts and, do a March? If you're doing a March bracket of, like anything football related, that's when you've hit your bottom point of content creation. Slam and Sam wants to know if you would go Noland or Loveland at 31.
Nolan, then Loveland. Boom, done.
I sign off on that as well. Pano, why is Sky Moore still a topic of conversation? He should have been shipped to China way back, guys.
Again, Pano never actually has questions. He just has statements. And he knows the code to get you to pay attention to.
I guess the question is, technically this time, though, he worked it in. Why is Sky Moore still a topic of conversation? I mean, why
put his statement?
he's still on the team. That's why he's still a topic of conversation. Fair enough. But until I get to the next question, just Brian, to remind you all, hit the like button. So that's just a good evergreen reminder. Thank you, Brian.
Albert's question at 824 above.
You say 824?
Yes, of Kingsley.
Oh, see, there you go. If Kingsley was in this draft, how would he compare with this year's tackle class?
He'd probably be in the second round.
So the same.
Yes.
Just want to make sure I understood that correctly.
Yeah, he'd probably be in the second round, maybe early third.
So exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not falling for the debate of the tailpipe that second time, Pano. So just because Nick has put me on head on the swivel. Darren, will the Chiefs get a comp pick for losing Mike Borgonzi? No, that is just for minority hires. So no, there will be no draft pick.
And this isn't meant for Darren. I'm kind of surprised people will get that confused because it seems to be a normal question for just for when coaches leave to go BOCs and stuff like that. Like people seem to get that confused.
Yeah,
and like I said, I'm not knocking Darren on it because it's
exactly no. We get asked that a lot. Yeah, is an easy thing to get confused because sometimes it would make sense that maybe you should get compensation when you lose people to other organizations, but in the NFL, it is just the minority hiring program. Mizzou 19. How about those Blues? The Blues are playing incredible right now. What is it? 9 in a row?
I'm sorry, they're not.
At least won 9 of 10. I don't get to watch a lot of hockey because it's not available. I don't believe on it. At least the Blues package is not available in any of the subscription packages I currently have. But I do count myself as a Blues fan, Nick. So I mean, I can name old Blues. Marty Barron. There you go. If I can name Marty Barron, I go a ways back. So. Brian Parrott, when is the last time Veach scored really good on a second round pick? I mean, Rashee Rice is a really good second round pick, Nick.
Creed Humphries is a really good second round pick. Nick Bolton's
a really good second round pick.
So
Brian, you're better than that. You're better than that, Brian.
We're gonna go through it. So 2018 was Breland Speaks. 2019 was McCole Hardman and Juan Thornhill. 2020 was Willie Gay. 2021, Nick Bolton and Creed Humphrey. 2022 was Sky Moore and Brian Cook. 2023 was Rashee Rice. And 2024 was Kingsley Suamataia. So those are your second round picks.
There's some good second round picks in there. Neo Thomas, would you take a receiver if a really good one fell in the top thirds?
Yes, because I do in the mock simulators that I have on a regular basis. So yes, I would.
How many times in those mock simulators have you taken Jalen Noel?
I don't have a number on it, but he's been a part of it. But you got to remember, man, I make a ton of trades in my mock simulators.
I know you do.
So I've got a lot of second, third round picks in mine, and some fourth rounders.
I'm serious. Nick sent me one where I believe he had 38 picks in this year's draft, and
did not have 38 picks.
Had picked up like 25 in next year's draft.
Gross exaggeration.
It's not that far off, but
gross exaggeration.
Actual question here from Pano: what draft picks would the Chiefs have to give up to the Falcons for Kyle Pitts?
No, thank you. Thank you.
I think you've hit on it there, Nick, which is that, I mean, one, I don't think Kyle Pitts is available because the Falcons seem to have no interest in trading him. And two, if you wanted to get him, it would be cost prohibitive because it would be a lot more than Kyle Pitts is worth.
And on top of it, you need all your draft picks this year. So no, thank you. And I know you're saying, well, you could use future picks. Yeah, I wouldn't do that either. So no, thank you.
There you go.
I am proud of Pano for actually asking a question without a statement. It's a big win for Pano.
I salute you.
A big win for Pano. Let's recognize it. Round of applause right there. Right there, Pano.
All right, we got a few minutes left. We're getting near the end. So if there's any last call, this is your opportunity to get them in. Going to Mitchell. Rank the AFC West, assuming the other three teams nail the first round according to their needs. KC didn't exactly blow them away in the games last season. It's closer than most people think, I believe. So assuming that everybody gets, let's just say, the same amount of improvement and gets their needs met and everything in the draft, Nick, how would you stack up the AFC West right now?
Matt, you go first.
Well, I would
go first.
Let's see. I mean, we're going to go with win totals. Raiders with like 4 wins. I would say, I mean, it's really close between the Chargers and the Broncos to me. I mean, I'm still not sold on Bo Nix, but Sean Payton is convincing me of some things. And Sean Payton's a pretty good coach. They're going to be better defensively. I'm trying to decide between the two of them, Nick. I think I would say I'm going to give the Chargers 10 wins, the Broncos 11. Chiefs 13.
Okay.
Which means that some division's going to have to be underwater, and there will be in the AFC. I mean, I have the AFC South with a 9-game winning division champion.
Yeah, AFC South's got a chance to be the worst of the bunch, so we'll see. So what I'll answer it this way: when you look at what a team needs to do, the Chiefs need to have their O-line stabilized in whatever way. They need an explosive running back. They need to enhance their pass rush, and they'll be in solid position. A corner wouldn't be a bad thing, but those first top 3 things they've got to be able to get done. So that's what they have to accomplish in this draft. You look at the Broncos. The Broncos need help at running back. They need help at tight end. They really need to surround Bo Nix with more at those 2 spots to really kind of help him take off and be more explosive on offense overall collectively. The Chargers, they need wide receivers. They need a tight end, and they need to rebuild that defensive line. So the Chargers have a lot more needs that they need to hit on in this draft and over the next 2 years for them to really kind of get up to where they need to be. So right now, I think the Broncos are in the lead for having to need less than what the Chargers do. I think the Chargers need more overall, and they've got to be able to get their answer on what Justin Herbert's going to be. So they need help at tight end, wide receiver, maybe even running back potentially. We'll see. And then they can get their answer on if Justin Herbert's their guy or not. And then if he's not, then they have an opportunity to where maybe if they want to trade him for picks down the road here at some point, then they would have that window open for them. And then they could use that to really kind of close out what they need to do along their overall roster build. And then the Raiders, it'll be interesting to see what Pete Carroll does. I think they've got a ton of needs. John Spyglass is probably the right general manager for him. So I think they finally hit on that front. But I think they've got a lot that they're going to need to do over time that I think the Raiders are going to be taking at least 2, if not 3 years. And we'll see where Geno's at that point, if he's still the quarterback or if they've gotten their quarterback of the future or what they may end up needing to do on that front. Because the kicker is with Justin Herbert, the Chargers really can't get out of his contract comfortably until 2027. So they've got the next 2 years to really kind of figure out who he's going to be as a quarterback, and then they could hypothetically potentially move on. They would eat $50 million in dead money, but they would get $7.8 million back from his overall $58 million cap hit right now.
There you go. So your answer is Broncos.
Yeah, it's Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers in that order. Raiders.
There you go. Really interesting question from Neo Thomas here. Can you name one guy in the front office that you know that is unknown that contributes to the success of the team, and the drop off would be noticeable if said person left?
I mean, I'm not 100% sure because I don't get to sit back there and listen to the ideas and hear what this person thinks or what that person thinks. I mean, this is going to be part of the first year where we see what Bergonzi's impact was, and over the next couple of years we'll see what his impact was in the Chiefs front office versus what the Chiefs are able to do. And you're starting to see for Ryan Poles and his one of the guys in his front office, Trey Cozio, where this is kind of the part where you're starting to see little by little as guys leave and move on, where there may be impacts, and if they're still just running straight ahead and continuing on and still being effective as they were before.
And I don't know what, maybe definition of unknown could be a little bit tricky for me. That's why I'm having, my only difficulty in answering this question, because, I don't know how many Chiefs fans really truly realize that. I mean, if you just look at the flow chart of that front office and the organization, I mean, now that Morganzi's gone, the number 2 guy is Chris Shea. And, I don't know if the Chiefs after the draft is usually when they announce any promotions and reorganization. So if there's any change in the front office as far as job titles go with Borgonzi leaving, probably after the draft. So, hey, if they're going to have an assistant GM title, I don't know who it's going to be yet. I mean, if they just go based on how they list their flow chart right now, I mean, that would be Chris Shea. And I do think that Chris Shea is a pretty integral piece of this organization because, in the past, we talked about Brant Tillis being involved with the cap, but Chris Shea was right there with him. I mean, he was the co-guy. So, and now Chris has pretty much taken on that role, and he's got scouting roles. He's got his hands in a lot of different things. And I think that Chris is going to be pretty integral because when it comes to Veach not having Borgonzi as his number 2 guy anymore, I think it's going to fall on Chris Shea to really be the kind of sounding board for him on a lot of things. So I'm really interested to see that change of without Borgonzi in the room and, how that affects it. Because I do think that Chris is going to have a bigger voice. I mean, Mike Bradway will have a bigger voice, Tim Terry, Willie Davis. I think all those guys. Probably the one guy that no one really knows about, and Brett mentions every once in a while, that probably people don't realize just how involved they are is Jack Wolof. Because he's kind of probably the next young guy that's up and coming that you're going to, hear more about and probably get, a promotion this year and everything. He works with Chris Shea now a lot on the salary cap issues. So, I mean, if Chris is kind of the Brant Tillis taking over that role, Wolof is kind of following in the footsteps of picking up some of the things that Chris is now leaving as he gets a bigger role. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, on the scouting side, yeah, like Sperduto and Henson, I mean, those are big guys too. And, and you would probably notice, I mean, Sperduto's been around for a while, and that could show. I mean, and the Chiefs have had some, turnover there and everything, but I mean, those would probably be my guys. I know I rattled off quite a few, but like I said, to me, if you don't know who Chris Shea is, then he's the one. If you've heard of Chris Shea, then Jack Wolof would be the guy that I'd say is probably the most unknown guy that you don't know how much of probably they own of the organization right now, at least accountability in the organization.
All I can say is we'll see what happens over the next month or two.
There you go.
There we go.
That was not the dishwasher, Luttrell. It is the clothes washer, however. So our dishwasher doesn't make that loud of a noise. So I may be dumb. I probably am dumb. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
What?
Well, I had to check and make sure I wasn't, falling for an April Fool's prank or something like that. So, do you know anything about Tony Horton's knee? I didn't know who Tony Horton was, I have to admit. So
Torrey Horton is the wide receiver from
Colorado State. Yes, I had to look that up because I did not know who Tony Horton was. So I have to do my homework, Nick.
No, I don't have any. I don't have anything to be able to tell you on that. I just know, according to this Google search, he underwent season-ending surgery on his right knee, and then he ran a 40 time the other day that Yahoo Sports is talking about. It was from Saturday, March 1st. Because he ran the 4.42 at the combine. So even that's old. So, okay.
Yeah, running a 4.42 after you had knee surgery in October is pretty good. So,
yeah.
I don't see, at first glance, I don't see anything that ever actually tells you what the knee injury was. So,
all right. 9:02, and we can wrap this thing up.
There you go. From Dog Petter, do you think Ethan Driscoll has a legit shot at being next year's right tackle?
We'll see what he does in training camp, and that'll answer that question. But until the pads come on in training camp, we have absolutely no idea. So that is something we will find out the answer to in the month of August.
There you
In
go.
the month of August.
I don't think Mitchell knows just how deep your t-shirt closet goes.
He thinks I'm made of money and I should just go t-shirt shopping even more than I already do.
I mean, I'm certain that you have dozens of t-shirts that I have not seen.
Casey Harold and Jimmy's with the acronym until the pads come on. Until the pads come on.
We need to work on that shirt before training camp.
You did you try to create like a lot of bills for me. You really do.
I mean, I can take the responsibility for some of these things. I just, need to get, sign-offs and approvals and everything. So
you can do whatever you want for your shirt. You just can't put the 41 brand on it. It's really that simple.
Well, I need to, make sure I trademark, your phrases and everything. I mean, we got things to work on here.
Matt, I've already got enough on my plate, man. That I have to do.
All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for a great night. A lot of you showed up. Truly appreciate that. Some great questions this evening. Managed to get through everything without having to go through a lightning round. So I credit that to Nick keeping me on schedule all night long.
No, let's not.
And probably the sport coffee. I mean, even though I didn't have it, I feel like I felt it, vicariously.
It's all things Chiefs right here. 41 is the mic, a Chiefs podcast on your home of the Chiefs. Listen now wherever you get your podcast.